Hey everybody, I'm Ace Trainer Liam and welcome to another Branched Evolution video. It's been a while since I did the last one of these. I think last time I did one I had brown hair, so it's definitely long overdue. If you're not sure what Branched Evolution is, you can click here to check out my first video on the subject. And as always, for those watching on a mobile device or with annotations turned off, there's also a link in the description. But for those of you already on board, let's get straight to today's video. Today I'll be looking at the branched evolutions of Tyrogue, which are Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan and Hitmontop. Tyrogue evolves into one of these three at level 20. If its attack is greater than its defense, it will become Hitmonlee. If its defense is greater than its attack, it will become Hitmonchan. If its attack and its defense are equal, it will become Hitmontop. These stats obviously can be controlled by either EV training or through the use of items such as protein or iron. Looking at their Pokédex data, Hitmonlee is the kicking Pokemon. It's 4 feet 11 inches tall and weighs 109.8 pounds. And its Pokédex entry reads, Hitmonlee's legs freely contract and stretch. Using these spring-like legs, it bowls over foes with devastating kicks. After battle, it rubs down its legs and loosens the muscles to overcome fatigue. So if you didn't get the gist of that, Hitmonlee does a lot of kicking. That's basically what they're trying to tell you. Hitmonchan is the punching Pokemon. It's 4 feet 7 inches tall and weighs 110.7 pounds. The Pokédex tells us Hitmonchan is said to possess the spirit of a boxer who had been working toward a world championship. The Pokemon has an indomitable spirit and will never give up in the face of adversity. So the punching Pokemon likes to box. In a nutshell, Hitmontop is the handstand Pokemon. It's 4 feet 7 inches tall and weighs 105.8 pounds. Hitmontop spins on its head at high speed, all the while delivering kicks. This technique is a remarkable mix of both offense and defense at the same time. This Pokemon travels faster spinning than it does walking. Did you get what its gimmick is yet? Now let's check out their appearance. Each of these Pokemon looks suited to the style of fighting that they're based on. Hitmonlee's got those long springy legs, Hitmonchan has boxing gloves, and Hitmontop has a point on its head for it to spin round, much like a spinning top that it's based on. I would say that Hitmonchan is probably the closest looking to Tyrogue. That's the only one of the three I think that resembles Tyrogue in its overall human-like appearance, and just the shape of its head just looks more similar to the style of Tyrogue. I would argue that Hitmonlee and Hitmontop don't really look that much like Tyrogue, and they could have probably done with having their own baby forms rather than being part of a branched evolution. When we look at the shiny forms, there's even more of a difference. Now, as for what level to let Tyrogue evolve, level 20 is the first time it's going to try and evolve, and there's no point stopping it from evolving because it doesn't learn any new moves through leveling up. It can learn TMs and HMs, but you can teach those to the evolved forms anyway. The only reason to not allow Tyrogue to evolve is if you're a really big fan of Tyrogue and you think it's cute or something. Personally, I think it looks too much like a little boy to be a Pokemon. Like, why would I want to catch a little boy? That's really creepy and makes me sound like a freaking Chitty Chitty Bang Bang character. Now let's take a look at these Pokemon's stats. You'll notice straight away that their HP, special attack and special defense are all the same. They all have pretty basic HP, terrible special attack, and pretty good special defense. The only differences are in the attack, the defense, and the speed. I wouldn't say the speed is massively different between the three, but Hitmonlee wins the race, literally, on speed and attack. Hitmonlee's got a great attack stat and the highest speed of these three Pokemon. What lets it down is its defense, because it's a very fragile Pokemon. Like I said, it can take special hits all day, but physical hits are not for Hitmonlee. It needs to avoid them. And the problem there is a lot of flying type moves are physical attacks, so that's something to consider. Hitmonlee also follows the pattern of its evolution, where its attack should be greater than its defense because its attack is greater than its defense. Similarly, Hitmontop follows the pattern as well, because its physical attack is 95 and its physical defense is 95, which is equal, like when it evolves. You take a look at its defense and then remember that its special defense is 110, you've got a really bulky Pokemon there, and because it's got a decent attack stat, because its special attack stat is so low, it can really give some good hits. It's just a great competitive Pokemon. Hitmontop is what a lot of competitive players will lean towards. Hitmonchan doesn't follow the pattern. It evolves when Tyrogue's defense is higher than its attack, but after evolving, its base attack is still higher than its defense. However, the difference isn't so staggering compared to Hitmonlee, which gives Hitmonchan a little bit more staying power than Hitmonlee. With Hitmonlee being so weak defensively, you would think it would have no place in competitive because its speed is pretty average as far as other Pokemon go, so you wouldn't think it would be in battle long enough to use that really good attack stat, but that's where the abilities come in. Hitmonlee's abilities can be Limber, which prevents paralysis, or Reckless, which increases the base power of attacks that have recoil or crash damage by 20%. But its hidden ability is where it shines. Its hidden ability is Unburden, which doubles the speed stat when its held item is lost. This is actually the strategy that I use with my own Hitmonlee, which is make sure it knows Fake Out and make sure it has a normal gem as its held item. The normal gem increases the power of normal type moves once. So Hitmonlee switches in, you use Fake Out to make your opponent flinch and use up their turn, which takes priority over their move. This uses the normal gem to increase the power of your Fake Out anyway, and when the normal gem is used, this activates his Unburden ability, which means that his speed is now doubled, which means your Hitmonlee can then outspeed a hell of a lot of Pokemon, thus giving Hitmonlee some competitive use. As for Hitmonchan, it can have the ability Keen Eye, which means its accuracy can't be lowered, or it can have Iron Fist, which increases the base power of punching type moves by 20%, which for a Pokemon categorized as the punching Pokemon is very, very useful, because Hitmonchan has a wide array of elemental punchers to give it advantage over a lot of different types of Pokemon. Its hidden ability is Inner Focus, which means it can't be flinched, which is great, but for me I would go with Iron Fist every time, which sounds a little bit rude. As for Hitmontop, it can have Intimidate, which adds to its bulky defensiveness because it lowers your opponent's attack, or it can have Technician, which increases the power of moves that have base power 60 or less by 1.5 times. So what this means is, for example, if you do use a move that's 60 base power, for example, it's going to have a base power of 90, 1.5 times its normal base power. Similarly, base power 40 becomes base power 60. The only time this ability doesn't work is for moves where the power has already been increased to over 60. So for example, if you use Pursuit and your opponent's switching out, it's not going to be doubled for the opponent switching out and then doubled for Technician. It's just going to be doubled for switching out, and Technician won't activate. Its hidden ability is Steadfast, which increases the speed stat by 1 stage when flinched, which personally I would avoid. You do not want your entire competitive strategy for Hitmontop to be based around it being hit by any move, because in competitive the right opponent can knock you out in one hit, and do you really want to have to wait for the possible chance of being flinched just to get a speed increase? No, bulk your defenses up and grit your teeth and take advantage of one of the other two awesome abilities. So out of these 3 Pokemon, Hitmontop tends to be the better one competitively. It's got brilliant defense and special defense, which means it can last quite a bit longer in battle. It's got good attack, which if you combine it with Technician becomes great attack, therefore allowing Hitmontop to deal a lot more damage when it's in battle. It's just a nice straightforward Pokemon, because it can survive a few hits and it can give a few hits even harder. So I would say go with Hitmontop, but personally I'll stick with my Hitmonlee because I think it looks cooler and I love taking advantage of its Unburden ability. Thanks everybody for watching, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments section which you prefer, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Hitmontop, and feel free to share your competitive strategies. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every single day, and feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pokemon Amino, all those places. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.